It's Good Friday, and this is the day Jesus died for all of our sins. So, you know what? Have fun. It's all paid for. You're playing with the house money. Oh, just same way it is. It's tax day, or was. I think AOC should be the candidate. Do you?
No. I mean,
Okay.
No, I'm not saying. I mean, like, it's not my job to pick who the candidate is going to be.
Oh, it's mine.
Yes.
And it's not. It shouldn't be her.
Maybe you should talk to the president about that.
It shouldn't be her.
Following that Oval Office dinner with Trump, Bill Maher's life has undoubtedly changed. He has been speaking out about the positive aspects of Trump, and the wokies are reacting as expected. They are even publishing hit articles in journals that openly criticize him. But here's the interesting part. This is precisely the type of pushback the right is making against the woke's absurd plan to restrict free speech. Bill Maher isn't backing down. Instead, he's responding in a way that is drawing attention and may be the surprise return they were expecting. Click subscribe and let's explore what transpired next.
Day without thinking about what he's done to this country, because he's such a little baby that he's thrown 250 years of democracy out the window by not accepting the results of the. I mean, it's so crazy. He's such a sociopath. He's so insane. He just couldn't admit to losing. And we know he lost. He knows he lost. And look how he's fooled everybody. He's convinced all these people that he didn't lose. He's such a sick man. He's so sick. Anyway, no, it hasn't impacted me at all.
This is precisely correct. They have been trying so hard to silence him and cancel him, but instead of retreating, he turned around and exposed them even more. What really hit home was when he pointed out something they can't stand to hear, that Trump has a certain strength and authenticity that the wokies will never be able to replicate. The modern left keeps doubling down on the very things that caused them to lose in the first place.
Because Bill Maher, first of all, I totally agree. He's totally in the right to do it, and I loved his monologue. Even though I disagree with most everything he believes politically, he was right to do this and he was right to speak out about it. But this isn't about that dinner. It's about the next one, because this is the modern left. It's an attempt always to intimidate people into not ever doing it again. It's to silence yourselves, or we'll do it for you. That's the purpose of this op-ed, so that the next comedian or the next person on the American left chooses not to speak to Donald Trump. This is all an effort to get people not to do what you just said, which is to talk to.
I voted for Obama. I voted for Clinton. But the idea that I could talk to them as freely as I felt this conversation was going is emblematic to me of why the Democrats lose the elections. Because they just don't feel that this is like a real person. And I know it's so weird to say that about Donald Trump, who I've said a jillion times is, a whiny little bitch. I mean, I could go through my greatest hits of like insults, but this was about getting past that and maybe seeing that if we met in person, we don't hate each other as much, and we don't. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like pretend that's a bad thing. No, it's.
Yes, and it's becoming increasingly obvious that Bill Maher is doubling down against the wokies rather than with them. He has been calling them out one by one, and it's been amazing to watch. Even with the recent Israel and Palestine issues, he didn't hold back. Just listen to how he dismantled the woke takes piece by piece. Anyone with even the slightest bit of common sense can see what he's saying, and that's what's making the left so uneasy.
Homeland, and Jews have always lived there. You can look it up. It's in this book called The Bible. It says the Jews built a temple with a really big wall 7 centuries before Muhammad or Islam ever existed, and sure as shit, you can still go there and touch it. Calling Jews colonizers in Israel is like calling Native Americans colonizers here. It's ridiculous. To mark the October 7th anniversary, we must launch a campaign to educate young Americans about the Middle East. And the way I'd like to begin that process is by addressing an open letter to Chapel Roan, a great new recording artist who, like a Hezbollah pager, is really blowing up. Chapel, if you think it was repressive growing up queer in the Midwest, try the Mideast. Chapel, did you know that for 2,000 years, Palestine was like an Uber driver with a 3-star rating? Nobody wanted it. And there was never any Arab country called Palestine. Chapel, you're not wrong that oppression is bad. or that Palestinian and many other Muslim populations are oppressed and deserve to be freed. You just have it completely ass backwards as to who is doing the oppressing. Hamas is a terrorist mafia that took over Gaza. These are the oppressors. And when you make it all about Israel, you take the pressure off of them. You enable them. Gender may not be binary, but right and wrong kind of is.
In the meantime, awakened people are out there wailing for Palestine despite being fully aware of the truth and choosing to ignore it in order to maintain their narrative. For those who are unaware, Israel is the only nation on earth that still resides on the same land, speaks the same language, and worships the same God it did 3,000 years ago. Despite this, the woke people continue to accuse Israel of being the villain while ignoring the actual facts on the ground. This is not only dishonest, but it is also embarrassing. What Bill Maher is doing right now is just stating the facts, and that is what is driving them crazy.
Being a liberal that acknowledges male-female distinctions, what a concept,
Oh,
right?
of course.
I mean,
Of all the low-lying fruit that the Democrats just like hand the Republicans to win elections, that's the one.
you know, it's so funny. I joked around with my team the other day. I said, are they really going to just let us win every national election on this no men and female sports thing?
Right.
Like, they can't surrender on this one issue.
It's so
It's
ridiculous.
a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
There's 890 medals and trophies of men winning these competitions.
You lost Gavin Newsom on this. Okay? Take that as a hint, right? I mean, I think you were
I
on
was the one that asked the question.
Right. Yeah. No,
And he
that's
said, issue of fairness.
thing that the best legal minds in Britain spent years having to work out the first thing we knew as a species.
But just to be clear, we're not saying there's not such a thing as trans, right? We're not saying there's not such a thing as someone who was quote unquote born in the wrong body.
I don't think people get born in the wrong body now.
Oh, I do.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a default setting for, like, we should acknowledge that. It's not just every time there's a baby, ooh, who knows what the fuck it is. That's crazy. But there are...
Beyond me.
Yeah, but there are variations.
There are variations,
Homosexuality.
that's right.
And,
It's a
and-
continuum.
And then,
And-
you know,
and like-
but it's how we handle that.
That's
you know?
right.
I mean, and I think we would agree that, you know, children, and this is where America is now an outlier country. We're the only country that went full, and I guess Trump was reversing it, but certainly under Biden, who went fully toward that. Like, we don't care what age, kids can self-diagnose themselves. I mean, that to me was going way too far on this. Again, nobody just comes back to the sensible center.
Yep. I mean, to me, the sensible center is that, like, you respect people, you trust parents, you let parents figure out what to do with their kids, and you don't need a bunch of politicians in Washington making decisions.
That is not the Democratic position, at least here in California.
Well, that's my position.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. I think that's where the Democratic Party should. That is not the position that we've had here in California, which is like, don't tell the parents
Right.
what the kids are doing
Right.
at school. That's a
Yeah,
whole, and that you really alienate voters.
Yeah.
Parents are voters. When you're not a parent yet, you know, it's like, oh, voting, whatever. You know.
Sex is not a spectrum. I mean, it's male and female. There are some people with very unusual conditions who deserve absolute sympathy and support. But that does not mean that we're a hermaphroditic species. We're just not.
No, but
Well, that's
not,
not it.
no, not the whole species. But this goes back, I mean, I don't want to use the term chicks with dicks, but I could. I mean, this goes back to like ancient Rome, and like there was always people who were like not quite one.
It's not hard to get to toleration and acceptance without rewriting biology.
Right,
That's-
right.
And like I mentioned, Bill Maher isn't holding back when it comes to exposing the woke lunatics and their propaganda. He's calling it out with facts, logic, and clarity, which is precisely why they're pursuing him so hard. However, things get even more interesting because not everyone is saying the same thing about Bill attending that dinner with Donald J. Trump. Just listen to what Tyrus had to say about it. It adds a whole new level of discussion. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. We've got more in store for you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is like someone who talked about black people his whole life and then had dinner with one and said, actually, after I had dinner with them, they're not that bad, guys. No, you don't get to do that, you coward. You went on a show and you tried to play both sides of the street.
That's right.
Why? So maybe he could do your show because the 300,000 people that watch it, if we had those numbers here, I wouldn't be here. These dudes make me laugh. Cowards die 1,000 deaths. You said things about President Trump nonstop. You had no reference point. That's all you proved to me. You sit down with a man, you break bread with a man, then you come and say, well, on this night, he was okay, but don't be mad at me. Splitting hairs. Man up. I don't know what this whole thing, everyone keeps acting like they need Bill Maher. The little guy who doesn't lift weights, 99% of the internet, what, MySpace? Come on, man. This dude represents nobody. A PR stunt for who? I'm sorry, I missed the Oval Office Rose Garden
exactly
meeting
right.
where President Trump was talking about Bill Maher was there.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
He's talking about it. President's not talking about it. He doesn't need Bill Maher. He's got 70% of the country cheering him on. He walked into UFC. The place went crazy.
Why did he accept dinner with him if he didn't?
Because he's like everybody else.
No, why did Trump?
Because that's who Trump is. He will break bread with anyone. He will sit with Kim Jong-un and break bread. So little punk ass Bill Maher coming to the house and sitting in the seat. And what did Trump did? He was gracious. He treated him. Everything. He had to leave and come back and go, he wasn't any of the things I said because you were part of the machine. You were part of the thing. He wasn't as bad as Joe and Micah was where he's sharp as a tack, but he led the charge. He continued to say things that weren't true. He supported things without ever bothering to say, hey, you know what? I want to sit down and, when I have a problem with someone, if I had a problem with Johnny and me and him had a problem, I'd be like, we need to sit down and talk before I would go out on social media and talk about him. But he needs President Trump.
And I'd say, let
he
me have
needs
a
the
weapon
audience.
first.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah.
But at this point, to coin one of the greatest, funniest phrases in all of comedy, I would ask Bill Maher to step in my office. And he would say, why? Because he's fired.